Welcome back, everyone. We are on to another overview video, and this one is about the power of intention and how intention rules absolutely everything. And we just don't even realize the power of intention. And as you've probably heard me say a bunch of times, if you've been around me long enough, once I realized what my words were doing, I had to go back and make a lot of changes because I didn't like who I was at that time. And I wanted to be somebody different. So I had to go through a transforming mindset process, which required intention. So let's go on to let's take a look at the slideshow because we love slideshows, don't we? And let's start at the beginning again. You know, you're always welcome to sing along if you want when it comes to slide, at the beginning of a slide. The power of intention. First of all, I found a combination of definitions, so I just kind of put them together. The definition of intent is the state of a person's mind directing actions toward a specific target, an object, meaning, purpose, or significance. When we intend to do something, it comes with a purpose. Intention is laced with purpose. Intention is a frequency. It has motion. It has life. And you've probably all heard of the placebo effect. And I'm putting a quote here that came from an article titled The Power of the Placebo Effect by the Harvard University Medical School. The placebo effect is used in clinical trials to test the effectiveness of treatments and is most often used in drug studies. For instance, people in one group get the tested drug while others receive a fake drug or placebo that they think is the real thing. This way, the researchers can measure if the drug works by comparing how both groups react. If they both have the same reaction, improvement or not, the drug is deemed not to work. And I find this fascinating because that's when they realized that people's intentions were involved. If they believed that they were getting the drug and they were told this drug will work, and they put their intent to believing it was worked, it messes up the placebo, it messes up the studies. And there's plenty of research to show that. This is how intent works. There's motion behind intent because it's a frequency. We have an originating thought that floats down the thought river of our brain. And there are three things that create the whole intent thing. And I call this a bench of three things that work together as a governmental authority over your entire being. So you have a thought that leads to a desire or an intent that produces the third one, which is an action. So thoughts lead to intent, which leads to an action. It's always that order. You're rarely going to have an intent or an action without the thought coming before it. Going to have to move my cue. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I hit the keyboard wrong. In the placebo effect, the trial participant takes the drug believing it's going to help. That's intent. The stronger the intent, the more powerful the results. That seems to be the gist of several current studies. There's energy behind intent. And the way that I describe this is torque power, TORQUE. It's the difference between driving an 18-wheeler Kenworth truck and the neighbor's VW Beetle that's sitting broken down in his yard. The difference in power that those two vehicles produce is amazing. So when your intent is laced with power, then it's going to take you much further. And I get to move me again. We're playing musical screen today. If you want positive change, check what's coming out of your mouth. Yes, and I've created lots of memes. And if you like memes, then I have an Instagram account and that link is below, and sign up to follow me and you're going to get a meme every day for quite a while. So the tongue is a creative force. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. What we say creates life or death. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. We are living today what we thought and acted out days, months, and years ago. And it can change in a short amount of time. I've seen people change in 6 or 7 months, either direction, based on what they're feeding in their mind all the time. The tongue is like a ship's rudder in that it controls the entire ship. Steering wheel of a car controls where the car goes, and it's pretty small compared to the car, but it controls where that vehicle goes. It's like the tongue. Creativity begins with a thought that eventually flows off the tongue. And then my dad used to say to me, "You have what you say." Oh, here's another one. The tongue can be the spark that starts a large fire. Well, I think I would rather have a tongue that sparks a lot of peace or joy rather than a fire. You know, and that is intent in action, okay? Words and their effect. What comes from the inner being, which is your heart, the subconscious part of you that isn't aware of what you're doing, it's the habits, the things that you formed, that is broadcast through words and actions. What we focus on becomes personal reality. I mean, if these thoughts are going through your brain all the time, and you keep picking the same thought up, the more you think about it, the more it's the faster that thought's going to come. You entertain it, you put an emotion behind it. Next thing you know, you're acting it out. Transforming mindsets requires a heart-brain coherence. Taking your emotions into control, and it involves rewiring the brain to think a new way. Emotions will settle into the physical body, causing dis-ease. Because your body, we have a spirit, we have a soul, we have a body. And your physical body is going to react to your emotional state. Therefore, if you want change, the first place to start is to adjust your thought life. And that is not as easy to do as people, well, they say it's not easy, but I think it can be. You just have to find a way that works for you. And meditation is one of those ways. Or, I mean, I'm not thinking meditation in an icky way, because you're marinating, you're being quiet, and you're letting this thought just go through your brain all the time for like 30 minutes. And you're doing it from a position of gratitude. When you're doing that, and, I'll even have phrases that I've written out to a rhythm that I will speak over and over and over, just to change what's going on in this brain up here. And here's some more of my lovely memes. A loose tongue speaks of beliefs hidden in the heart. The creative force of your words determines your future. So you want to choose your words wisely. And James Clear said, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. And remember, an action is an acted out intent, which came from a beginning thought. And the changing mindset process, if you're treasuring what's good by staying in an attitude of gratitude, that is the starting point. Feeling the emotion of gratitude, wiping away all the icky stuff. Don't think about that crap. Think about what's good. The more you entertain positive thoughts, the faster they will come. It's the same thing if you do the opposite. Everything you desire is on the opposite side of fear. Fear, well, I have something to say about fear here in a minute. Changing intention. Pay attention to the thoughts. Around 50,000 thoughts go through the brain daily. Choose which thoughts are kept, and then frame the intent of the thoughts that you're keeping. Imagine your brain as a thought river where you pick up what you want and let the other stuff float on by, which means, hey, I'm going to ignore that. That's a dumb thought. When you hear something negative, always question the intention behind it. I'm going to say that again. When you hear negativity, question what the intention of the person saying it is. If they're trying to instill fear in you, that's a form of control. Dr. Joe Dispenza has courses and retreats, and he literally completely healed his entire body by changing his thoughts and putting his intention on being healed. I believe it is a preacher named Kenneth Hagin did the exact same thing. He was given a death sentence when he was 16 years old, and he did exactly what Joe Dispenza did. And then just one day decided he was done living. Because I'm done. And then he put his head down and went to sleep and died. So much is about intention. Dr. Caroline Leaf has a book that's called Switch on Your Brain. And I believe that there's a 20-day detox that's in that book. I highly recommend it if you don't have it. Staying in an attitude of gratitude is always a starting point. Negativity kills forward motion. The moment we start resonating with negativity, you're toast. Trust me, I did it for 19 years, so I know how it works. And it wasn't until I started changing my thought life that I was able to override all that icky stuff. Don't believe everything that you hear. Okay, we'll leave that one right there. So the summary on this one is, intention is the most powerful tool in your arsenal of equipment needed for changing the quality of life. You don't become what you want. You become what you believe. And notice that finger that's over there. You can just imagine that that's a fearful thought. Okay. To change current life status, begin with refocusing intention. Keep a positive mindset or there will be minimal forward progress. And, it flew away, And this keeps us in a place of rest and peace. What better place is there to be? And again, I'm not sharing with you anything I haven't had to go through myself, because life isn't easy. But I would never go back and change anything that had ever happened before, because I learned something from it. It made me a stronger person because I chose to do something with that negativity. I'm like, why do I have to keep going around the mulberry bush a bunch of times? Well, that means I haven't learned something. And as I figured stuff out, then life began to change. But it had to start with what was going on in here. And then I had to get the emotions in check. And that's where you're infusing yourself with all the goodness and all the positivity. In some ways I call it the Pollyanna effect, but it's not really. Because we have to have an attitude of gratitude, even in the midst of an icky situation. You're not thankful for the situation. You're just being thankful in the middle of it. And it makes a huge difference. And I write about some of that stuff in several of my books, especially the book called Transforming Mindsets. I show you how I changed. And if that interests you, you can find it on Amazon. Okay. So that is it for this one. And we'll see you in the next overview one.